Pretty light. It's a pretty light mix today, Matt.
Yeah, not very many people on.
No, welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. My name's Ben. We're here to talk about shooting stuff. It's just two of us today. Old Ben and Mr. Matt Hopkins.
This is like way old times, right?
This is old school stuff, and it's because this is being recorded around the turn of the year.
30th?
Yeah, so people are busy doing things. And I'm a little under the weather, so I'm sorry about that. But, you know, you kind of get what you pay for around here. All right. So, Matt, you've got a topic that sounds interesting. I've had no advance notice that you wanted to talk about this, and I don't know where you're going to come down on it because we have not previously discussed it. So this will be perfect for a podcast.
Yeah, this will be good. So I was reading some forums, and I saw Production 15 brought up again. You know, the tried and true, we got to change this to IPSC.
Yes, have production with a capacity other than what it currently is.
Correct.
Sort of discussion. Yes.
Yeah, so I think it started out, well, basically the forum post was like, well, I want to change production to 15 rounds instead of 10 in the magazine. So Same minor scoring, everything else. Then he goes up and he's like, well, here's some reasons why we shouldn't do it. And
why we should?
Should not.
Okay.
Or no, this is what people say, that to keep it at 10 rounds.
Okay.
So one of his things is it isn't fair to people who live in commie states. So the people that can't like have access to new standard or capacity magazines higher than 10. Some call them high cab or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. Where do you think about that, Ben? I mean, You've probably traveled more states than me that have restrictions on them.
Probably. There are states that have what I call a hard restriction and some states that have like a soft restriction. So I think it'd be fair to say if I were in New Jersey, then I would not be possessing any magazine that I thought was illegal. Whereas in California, I would...
Or Colorado?
Yeah, I would happily possess illegal magazines, and it's just not going to be a problem for me. So that's the first part that you really notice is there's a difference between what the law says and then how things actually go.
Yeah.
So people basically have high cap magazines all over the place in California, and that's just what they do.
It's just kind of like looked over and like they're only going to hit you up on that if they got you for something else, and they're
that's what I've heard. Of course, like anybody else, I don't want to be that test case. I'm just telling you what I hear.
Right. So, I mean, the crux of his like reasoning for this is CO and PCC have siphoned off more and more production shooters in my section.
Okay.
I found myself feeling incredibly favorable towards the idea of increasing to 15 rounds. And then he lists his list. So the first one about the commie states, we did that one. Okay. Another thing that people say to leave it alone at 10 is, I like the complexity that planning around 10 round brings. I also like reloads.
Okay.
So I think this is probably the biggest plus to keep it at 10 rounds. It differentiates it compared to limited and open and carry optics. It's a limited capacity division that is limited to 10 rounds and minor scoring. So you have to have your reloads in really good because you're going to be reloading all the time. And you have to it has a level of accuracy that pretty much none of the other divisions have. Because you're limited on rounds and minor scoring.
And you get poked pretty hard when you shoot extra shots.
Exactly.
It's not quite like single stack major, but it's headed that direction.
Yeah. And then the minor scoring, so like you can kind of like major scoring and limited. You know how the difference is there, right?
Yeah. I'm not finding the thread you're talking about, and I guess I don't really care enough to keep looking.
Yeah, it's fine. I got some highlights on it, so I'll read them off if you want later on.
Good. No, let's hear what people think about this.
What do you think about the complexity around 10 rounds? He's like, if you're addicted to weird stage plans, single stack minor is still a very viable alternative.
I mean, I guess, yes. I have my own issues with single stack. I think the major minor thing in single stack is stupid.
Why? You think it should just be major?
Like Well, the most competitive thing to do is to have one setup for each caliber and then go scope out the match before you start
The
it.
day before.
This is so stupid to me. I'm like, oh,
That is pretty dumb. I
like
mean,
how is that a thing to do?
that's probably the most like gear intensive division if you actually were going to be competitive with it. You got to have two guns, two sets of mags, two sets of ammo. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Oh my God, no, it does
But
not.
no one's actually doing that though. I
A
haven't
few
actually.
people do. A few people
Really?
do. Yeah, and if I was serious about single stack, I know for sure I would.
That's a lot of planning and forethought.
Well, this is why I'm not serious about single stack, Matt.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's not that crazy. It's you practice with two very similar sets of guns and sets of gear, which I do anyway.
Yeah, just a major minor power factor.
Yeah.
And it's two significantly different rounds, right?
I don't know. I mean, not
I
to
mean,
me.
you'd have to have a 9 and a 40 at the minimum to get the power factor. So,
Yeah, probably.
yeah.
Anyway, that's too theoretical. So what is it? What else is there?
He has one more thing here. This is just the original poster. Increasing round limit to 15 rounds would only be swapping in one arbitrary limit for another. Why disrupt status quo?
That's a good point.
I feel that's kind of, I mean, his biggest thing with that is it aligns us closer with IPSC, you know?
Well, that's not really an argument because nobody shoots IPSC in USPSA.
Right. So
Like, essentially nobody.
I mean, that's the biggest thing that people talk about on that. They're like, well, why do we care about IPSC? We're USPSA, rah, 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 USA, all that, you know,
Yes.
red, white, blue.
Mm-hmm. With you so far.
No, I agree with that too. I don't think we should change a division to get to 15 because of IPSC for sure. And I don't think it makes sense.
Doesn't make sense at all.
No. So one of the posts down lower is like, to me, the underlying theme is with all these posts is, I want a division that makes my life easier and caters to me. I thought that was really good.
That's fair enough. Yes.
Yeah.
So you don't like changing to 15, am I guessing?
I definitely do not, and I don't think we should, as a sport, change it to 15. I think production is.
Matt, I'm going to say some things that are going to blow your mind right now.
Okay.
Since we haven't previously discussed this.
Sure.
If I was putting in a mag capacity today, it'd be 15.
Really? Why?
Because 15 makes the most sense given the world we live in. So you could take pretty much any production gun and get 15 9mm in there. So it kind of works for everybody.
Yep.
And then, that's it. So I'd
That's
pick
the only
15.
reason?
That's it.
So
I would pick 15.
Another one of the good posts, like that was.
If I was putting in a limit today, now the
Right.
history thing is what makes it complicated.
Okay.
Like we've been at 10 for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the reason that 10 is annoying, and I agree, in many times the 10 round limit is annoying, and it's because of the way stages are designed.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that
you,
one of
you
the
know
guys
you
posted
go
about
to
that,
matches
like,
where you're standing still reloading.
doing a standing reload. Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's boring. If I'm shooting limited, I'm bored with the stage like that. I don't care if I have to stand there.
You're not going to be doing a reload there.
Yeah, well, I won't do a reload, but I'll still run to one spot and shoot like 16 rounds and just be like, well, that was boring. You know what I mean? So
well, that's
it's boring.
Problem. That's not a division
right.
problem.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. So I think a lot of this is a stage design problem.
And I think that funnels down. Like eventually, the way they're currently doing stages at nationals will get down to the local level. It might take a while.
What I've seen the last few years, this is just me sort of very informally like taking the temperature of how things look. I've seen most matches be set up in what I would say is high cap friendly, which is if you're shooting carry optics, limited or open or PCC, you're not going to have to reload usually in a stupid spot.
Right.
But that's it. I would say most matches are that way. And that makes it not a lot of fun shooting low cap, and it makes me bored irrespective of division that I'm shooting. Right.
I think that's a different problem, though.
It is. But I think a lot of, if you're shooting production and you're annoyed, I think a lot of it is the stage design.
Yeah, that's going to be all about, then all we would have is high cap divisions, right?
Well, I guess. I mean, we'd have single stack and revolver, but that's kind of a separate discussion, a lot of that stuff.
L10, right?
Yeah, L10.
God, I wish they would axe that thing so bad.
Okay, so what else should we? You got any other highlights here?
So I mean, like, if you want to load up mags, there's another division for you, right? You have limited minor. You could go shoot right now, right?
Yeah, no, I don't at all think that we should be catering to people that have, like, if you can't find a division right now that works for you, then fuck off. Honestly,
We have plenty, I think. Also, yeah.
honestly, you can
There's
shoot a
like nothing out
revolver,
there.
you can shoot a rifle, you can shoot an open gun, you can shoot a Glock, like
Yep.
shoot anything.
And everything else in between there, right?
Yeah. So
No, I hate, like, it seems like this comes up every year. Like, people talk about like trying to align with IPSC. Somebody in here made a post like, you get people fresh from the gun shop with a 9mm and 3 mags. If 15 rounds, they could actually shoot a course of fire, right?
well, that's nice in theory, but we don't get people fresh from the gun shop.
Right.
Like if you just go buy a gun and have no training or experience in using one, you don't belong in a USPSA match.
Right. I don't think we should make matches for that. It just kind of,
No, I don't want those. Like I don't want that.
no, I
I
don't
don't
either.
want that. Not good. Where should
No,
we send them at IDPA for a while?
I mean, they can go wherever. I think they'll eventually get to USPSA just because of what it is.
Exactly.
It's the premier sport. It has the most history.
Yes.
Legacy, I
People
guess.
are always like talking about production 15 a lot, and production 15 is fine. Um, but my beef, honest to God, is with stage design.
No, that makes sense. I think that's. I don't know how to do. Like, how do you fix that though, or is this a different topic?
It's a completely cultural issue, right? I mean, as it stands now, if I go to a match and I'm going through the stages in production, which this has happened to me a few times in the last year because I shot a lot of club matches. Normally
Yeah.
I shoot about 2. I think I maybe shot 8 or 10 last year.
Yeah,
I
that's
shot a
actually
lot.
a lot for you.
I
Yeah.
shot a lot of club matches at a lot of different clubs. And when I was shooting production, it would oftentimes be the case that I was annoyed just or it's like I have a reload, like a standing reload just because. And then there was a lot of times I was shooting limited where I would be annoyed, but in a different way, where it's like, hey, if I just run to this one spot, I can circumvent this part of the stage design and shoot, 15 or 18 rounds from one spot or something like that, which I don't have any interest in. I don't like that stuff, but that
I
was
think
kind
that's
of
100% like stage dependent, though.
it is 100% stage dependent, but I'm just saying like the shift I've seen the last few years has been more towards less running and more shooting, higher hit factors for sure.
Right.
Which again, that's fine, but that is a little boring sometimes when that's all you're doing.
Do you think that's bad for the sport in general?
No, not really. I think it's kind of whatever. It's kind of irrelevant. It's just that's what it is. I don't think that's really good or bad.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
It makes things a little bit different. I think it'd be better long term to have things be more diverse, but that's just me.
And I think that has a lot to do with who's setting up. Like, if someone's volunteering this year, they're going to set up stuff that they like, that the people like say, oh, I had fun shooting this 25 hit factor stage and all this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I didn't say this, but I've heard a lot like people want to come out and shoot, right? They bought all their stuff, so they want to come out and shoot the rounds, right? I think Joel says that a lot.
Well,
Or
I think
has.
Joel's paraphrasing other people. I don't
Oh,
think
okay,
Joel's
yeah.
really on board with the
Well,
necessarily.
I've
that
heard it
school
from
of thought.
him, yeah.
Yes,
So yeah.
yes, he would say that. Many
Cool.
people think that way.
So what would you, if the board asked your opinion right now, 10 or 15, what would you say?
I would say leave it 10 for now and put in some stage design requirements. And the other thing that I would, Matt, think about this. What if CO went to 15 and production went to 15?
That'd be very interesting. That's just like IPSC. IPSC is at 15
Yeah,
for both.
that is just like IPSC, and I happen to like that system better. I think the magazine extensions for CO guns are dumb.
I think they went too far with it. I think they might have should have done a step in that direction from 10 to not all the way there,
It just made,
and
dude,
seeing
like,
how it worked out.
again,
Because they
make
can
it.
always go.
You can always add more, but if you made it
Exactly.
15, then it'd be the same thing. Like your factory magazines work, and I just don't have to buy magazine extensions.
That was the biggest thing I hated. Like when I
It
was shooting
was
CO for the little time I did, it's like, fuck, I
hint,
got to
hint,
keep
Matt.
track of all these mags,
It was
make
really
sure
good
the
for the
springs are good.
retailers.
Yeah.
It was really good for the retailers, but it
Was it?
wasn't good for the shooters.
How many base pads got bought because of that? Do you
All
know?
of them, I don't know, a shitload.
No, but it is a level, it's a like a metric level difference when you have to add springs and like making sure your mags are
No,
full.
that's the stuff that sucks about limited and open, and like adding that to another division, like that's crazy to me.
Well, PCC has it also, but like we don't really talk
I
about that
don't
here.
give a fuck about that. That's
Yeah.
fine.
The problem is you gotta have such a specialized mag. Like you're loading a mag that will barely feed the last round because you need to have that extra round in there
Or the
due to
first
the
round.
stage.
Some guys have problems feeding the first rounds out of those
That's
carry
true.
optics
Yeah.
magazines.
Yep.
I hate all that stuff. I think that's like stupid, but you know.
I don't like it either. That was the
The
worst thing
the
I hate
nice
about it.
the nice thing about it for the ROs is like you can just put your mag in a gauge and be like, oh yeah, you're good or you're not.
Yeah.
That's why that happened.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's just easier for them to police it.
It's basically not policed, but yeah,
Yeah. There's a story about that at nationals, but
there always is.
all
There always is.
right, you got a topic?
Absolutely not, Matt. We're just going to go to questions. I'm sorry, man. I'm under the weather. I don't
No
have a whole
problem.
lot to talk about. You know,
So if I
well, I
was,
should say I got a couple prize guns,
do you?
which I don't have them here with me right now. Or we do a talk about it, but initial impressions of the SIG X5, SIG 320 X5 Legion are very positive.
Nice.
It's very nice.
Like the
The
weight of
Walther
it?
Q5 match, I have a plastic one. I like that less.
You like it less?
I
Why?
like it less than the 320. I just don't like the frame as much.
It feels weird, or
Yeah,
is
it's
it
got
comfortable?
a lot of angles on it, you know.
Okay, yeah. Mess
Anyway,
with your hands. If I was going to recommend to the board, I'd say keep it 10 rounds right now too. But I'm sure everybody got that by what I was saying.
oh well, of course, but the board's
Yeah.
not they're not listening anyway, so
Well, hopefully they don't propose this, and we'll see.
hopefully they don't propose it and change it.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I mean, the other problem is they've been fucking with the rules too much lately.
That is definitely true. Like it has not been. We have not had a year go by without a rule change in it for probably the last
It's,
4 or 5 years,
it's not good.
and not just a rule change, a division change.
Yeah. All right. I've watched your podcast and love the input you guys have. My question is about rules at level 1 club matches. I think you have the same mindset as myself and agree that rules are rules and follow and allow for an even playing field regardless of the level of the match. Been to a handful of local level 1 matches recently. I've noticed on multiple occasions a blind eye being applied to some of the rules. For example, the guys running the tablet give guys a huge benefit of the doubt on a shot which I can clearly see is not deserving, or watch another competitor clearly having his foot on the wrong side of a fault line while shooting and see the RO observe the same act, shake his head, and not apply the penalty. I'm new, and most of the things I've seen are happening to guys in different divisions. I've also have the thought that I'm only competing with the other guys in production. Should I care about this or cause a stink? Maybe once I get to the point where I'm competitive with guys in open, CO, or limited, I may push the issue. What are the thoughts of you guys?
I mean, that's the good old boy network, right?
I think it's mostly. I mean, I've seen this same as you have. I'm sure it's a
Yeah,
question of degree. Yeah, you should not go to a level 1 match and walk away feeling dirty about it. You know what I mean?
yeah. But it
Um,
doesn't sound like it happens to that person. It sounds like he sees that.
yeah, but still, I mean, it is your okay. I'll say this: if you see stuff like that at a match and it's people not in your division that you don't know,
Yeah,
it is still your issue,
yeah.
as far
I
as
mean,
I'm concerned. Like,
it does make the match kind of less like wholesome or like true, like results wise. Because if they shot those penalties, they should get them, right?
right, they shot those penalties; they should
And
get them, and then
and
the
if they shot
culture.
those points, they
Right.
should
And
get the
then
points
if you're
or
the
not
range
get the
officer,
points.
if you're holding the timer and some guy has a foot fault, you're not out of line to be like, yep, so your foot did this or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, being honest, I don't like if calls are questionable, that's different. But when it's obvious, when it's flagrant, then you pretty much have to call it. Like you don't
yeah.
really have a choice.
I think this happens a lot by making everything easier or trying to do stuff faster. So we want to get the stage reset faster and get the shooting done. So we pre-score targets from wherever is convenient. Not
Yeah.
actually, I think that happens probably the most out of any of this. I think if they're not calling foot faults and stuff like that, that is a huge issue.
Well, it depends on the club. A lot of guys think that the level 1 exemption just applies to whatever the hell they feel like it applies to
Whatever
that day.
rule,
Yeah, that's not true.
it's a level 1, right?
It's an enumerated list of things. It's not just like, oh yeah, we do the scoring rules differently at level 1. Like, no, you don't. It should be scored the same.
Yeah.
So yes, this should upset you. This would upset me. And if you just ask a question, like just like you could just get clarification from the range officer, like, hey, is like putting your foot there, is that a penalty when you're shooting or not?
That'd be awesome.
I would ask that. I would have no problem asking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. Like, I think the biggest thing about scoring, like calling a hit like an A and it was on the C line or whatever, is about speed. And I think that can be reined in by maybe not stage setup design or whatever, but like making sure a stage isn't gonna like back up.
Well,
versus another stage.
the other piece of it also is that people don't really realize. I mean, they think they're doing a guy a favor when they give him a questionable hit or don't call him for a penalty that they clearly earned. But you're also fucking the people shooting against that guy.
And so I agree with that, yeah. But one thing I see, like the people that like call for, if people ask for doubles and think like they got a double last Saturday at their local match, I shoot doubles all the time. Then it happens at some bigger match, and then they're
they
like,
don't get the double. It's
well,
shocking.
they might get it though, but they're arguing for it because they've argued for it at a local match, and that's the culture that's like put into them and brought over to the national level or state level match or the bigger match. And it's just
absolutely.
not, that is what I have a problem with, because like they're basically shitheads that do that. They're douchebags. They get their douche ticket punched for it.
Is that what? That's how I've described it, I think.
Yeah, that's how you've described it. Yeah. And it is actually, it's not fair to the other competitors that like, oh, they knew they shot the mic, so they're not even going to ask for an overlay on that or anything.
Yeah, they just walk away from it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just bad for the sport in general. It makes it not equitable.
Well, when you get to the point where you see results and then, Matt, we've had a lot of conversations like this over the years. Like, these are results from this club, so I don't believe them. I don't trust them.
Oh, right.
These are results from this club, and then we just end up, just between us, we'll just kind of like, yep, I don't believe what I'm seeing from that club. And then,
and
sure enough, you see some other matches, other places, and you see the results more in line with what our expectations were.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people getting away with murder at club matches, basically.
And that train, like that, like rolls up to bigger matches. Like
Absolutely.
they expect that then. So then they're going to argue for it. So, and then I just don't think that's right.
Yeah.
I could say a lot more, but I'm not going to on that.
No, it's you. No, you are 100% correct, Matt. Well, you know what? I think that's enough podcast for one day.
That was good.
Thank you for coming on, Matt. And you know what? I have a business announcement to make that I probably should have done earlier. This is a little bit of repeat, but I got a class with Mr. Kim. He and I co-teaching a class, Austin, Texas. It's a Monday, Tuesday, February 24th, 25th. It should be a lot of fun. Go to bensteger.com if you want to take that class. And got an upcoming book, Match Mentality, co-authored with Mr. Joe Park. That
I saw you guys release the name of that one.
Ooh. Yeah, it's happening, Matt. It's happening.
That's right. I've actually had a preview of it. Very interesting.
Are you interested?
Yeah, no, it actually, so we can talk about it more later, like when it's closer to release.
No, please, now. Go.
There was some very, like, stuff that hit, like, very, like, home to it that I had, like, it's very, very good. I'm really impressed with it.
Well, that's good, Matt. Well, thank you so much. All right. Well, that's enough for this. Let's, we got to kill this.